devastating fires in Maui in the summer of 2023 destroyed beautiful forests and left thousands of people without homes started on purpose. Who could have been behind such an evil plan? Politicians? Celebrities? Maybe even America's favorite talk show host? In August of 2023, a series of massive, deadly fires broke out on the beautiful island of Maui in Hawaii. Over the coming days, the fires would claim at least 115 lives and would leave many more homeless or suffering loss of property of some kind. The flames consumed over 2,000 acres of land. Everything from homes to forests fell to the hungry flames. Or did it? The fires were noted to take out almost everything, but rather suspiciously, homes with blue roofs remained mostly untouched. Even when everything around them burned to the ground, many homes with this peculiar blue roof escaped largely unscathed. While definitely the most obvious thing to escape the fire, it would seem blue cars and some other pieces of property with visible blue umbrellas also remained safe. Is this blue roof situation merely a coincidence, or is it something bigger? What significance could the blue roofs have had? Many online observers have suggested it may be the work of DEWs, or direct energy weapons. DEWs involve high-energy lasers and other high-power electromagnetics that use concentrated electromagnetic energy to combat enemy forces and assets, according to the U.S. Government Accountability Office, GAO. Wall Street Apes, an X-account that is on the cutting edge of what many call conspiracy theory Twitter, had this to say: "How many coincidences are you willing to accept? Completely untouched blue umbrellas, completely untouched blue car." And now we find out Oprah's Maui, Hawaii mansion has a blue roof. What are the odds? It's amazing. The Maui, Lahaina, Hawaii fires were a domestic terrorist attack. DEWs, direct energy weapons. Direct energy weapons may seem like a big jump, but the fact remains that these fires affected things very precisely in some cases, almost as if it were being guided along. It is being suggested that when the plan was first put into place, the signal to avoid burning a house would be a blue roof. Those in charge of running the DEWs purportedly used here would see the color of the roof from satellite images and would know to steer clear. Now, such an operation would take time, possibly years to plan, and an incredible amount of money. Who would possibly have the money and resources available to pull off such a move? And why would they burn down a historic city like Lahaina? The answer to that may lie in the homes that survived the blaze. Many of the surviving homes, including some that seem to have had the fire directed around them, belong to people of power, money, and influence. People like Oprah. Oprah owns approximately 1,000 acres of land on the Valley Isle, and interestingly enough, none of her property was touched by the massive fires. Other celebrities who own property on Maui include Steven Tyler, Owen Wilson, Larry Ellison, and Jeff Bezos. Interestingly, the three biggest names on that list, Oprah, Bezos, and Ellison, either own tech companies or have invested in them. This includes space programs and, oddly, direct energy weapon research. Bezos's Amazon fortune has allowed him to invest directly in space-related tech, even taking a trip into space on a manned flight in recent years. So the coincidence that these fires would avoid his home after he personally spent so much money on direct energy weapon research is looking less coincidental as the days go by. Larry Ellison being on this list looks even more suspicious. Ellison has been privatizing islands and creating his own tropical vacation spots for years. Larry Ellison Island is something of an open secret, where little by little, Ellison changed the layout and makeup of an island, buying more and more land and demolishing and renovating buildings as he went along. Why would these celebrities want to burn down Maui? Surely they can't be buying up the entire island for themselves, can they? It seems that is what they were doing up until a few years ago. After a while, the rich and powerful had bought up everything there was to buy up. The only spaces they could not get their hands on were occupied by the locals. Generational Hawaiians are very protective of their land and their culture, and have been wary of outsiders coming in and gobbling everything up since the first explorers arrived hundreds of years ago. So when they reached a stalemate and were unable to convince the locals to move, they began to devise a plan to smoke them out, literally. Over the last several years, celebrities and politicians who own property in Maui have been documented in closed-door meetings all across the country. These meetings might seem unremarkable if the number of meetings and the similar list of people involved wasn't making things so suspicious. We can speculate that these meetings, or at least some of these meetings, involved devising a plan. This plan would be a way for a manufactured natural disaster in Maui. This disaster would need to be one that could force people out of their homes and take the stubborn locals off the board. And so naturally, they settled on a forest fire. Now, forest fires are historically hard to contain. How could they create a fire that is containable and would only affect their opponents on the island? DEWs. With the plan in place, it's time to put your detective's cap on. We have a motive. These powerful people wanted the island all for themselves, to create a resort, and the locals refused to move. We have our weapon of choice, a direct energy weapon that can start and guide a fire, burning only what they wanted to burn. Now, we only need an opportunity. That opportunity would come after a year of low rainfall for the island paradise. Maui had experienced an exceptionally dry year, making the conditions for a controlled burn absolutely perfect. And August 6, 2023, it seems the rich and powerful may have indeed taken that opportunity. Officially, the Office of Governor Josh Green said in a statement, "There is no truth to the horrendous assertion that the fires were deliberately set to raze the historic town of Lahaina, which was the first capital of the Hawaiian kingdom. The powers that be blame such events as these fires on various other factors. In this case, it is climate change. Despite publicly stating that they do not know the source of the fires, they are confidently claiming that climate change is ultimately the cause. We don't know what actually ignited the fires, but we were made aware in advance by the National Weather Service that we were in a red flag situation. So that's dry conditions for a long time. So the fuel, the trees, and everything was dry," Major General Kenneth Hara of Hawaii's Department of Defense said. This does not mean that the fires were not intentional. It only reveals that if the fires were set intentionally to recreate Maui, that there may be more political leaders involved in the plot than anyone realizes. With Oprah's influence reaching far beyond the world of business and entertainment, she has long been known to rub shoulders with politicians and national leaders. The extent to which this spreads may never be fully revealed. The fact of the matter is, dozens of people lost their lives to these fires, and many more were displaced, with their homes, jobs, and entire lives burned to the ground in an instant. The possibility that this was orchestrated by the rich and powerful as a chance to buy up property that was not previously available to them is sickening. The mystery of the blue roof surviving the blaze may not be definitive proof of foul play, but it is certainly suspicious. Combined with Larry Ellison's history of forcefully buying up islands and the investments of many suspected parties, things begin to line up in dramatic fashion. While they may never admit to ruining thousands of lives for their personal gain, the evidence seems to be stacking up against them,